Good morning, boys and girls. It is Tuesday, May 12th, and today I want to start our poetry unit because it is Poetry Month. So that's what we're going to start doing now that Frindle is done. So I hope you did your four square, not the four square we normally do for writing, but one about Frindle. If you did it on plain paper, or if you were able to print the one off of the lesson, if you can take a picture and send it to me, I would love to see your work on that, okay? Okay, so let's start with poetry. First, I'm just going to read a couple, and then we'll talk about the characteristics of poetry, and then I'll talk about your next assignment. So the first one I want to read is called My Neighbor's Dog is Purple, and this is by Jack Prelutsky. My neighbor's dog is purple. Its eyes are large and green. Its tail is almost endless, the longest I have seen. My neighbor's dog is quiet. It does not bark one bit. But when my neighbor's dog is near, I feel afraid of it. My neighbor's dog looks nasty. It has a wicked smile. Before my neighbor painted it, it was a crocodile. So that's the first poem. We heard some rhyming there. We'll talk about that. And we heard a lot of descriptions, color words, and adjectives. So the next poem is called It's Raining Hearts, and this is by Barbara Vance. It's raining hearts, it's storming flowers. We're in for scattered stardust showers. It's drizzling chocolate, pouring pies. We might be seeing candy skies. Of all the weather there could be, plain water seems a waste to me. And that's the second poem. Okay, so really quick, I want you to look over here at my characteristics of poetry chart that I started. I do have some empty spots because those are some things that we're going to discuss on our Zoom on Wednesday, okay? Quincy is in the bottom of the art easel. So, Quincy. All right. So, anyways, so characteristics of poetry. Define is what does poetry mean. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday because I want you guys to help me come up with a definition. The purpose. What is the purpose of poetry? Why do we have it? Why do we learn about it? We'll also talk about that on Wednesday. So start to think about these two things. What do you think poetry means? And why do you think we have poetry? But here are some of the characteristics that we see in poetry. So these are things we see. So you guys know that these are bullets, and that means we're just giving different samples. Poems can be long or short. Both of those I read were pretty short. Poems are organized in sections, or they call them stanzas. And I'll show you the next one I read, how that looks. Also, there is a white space around a poem, okay? Poems are usually written in the middle of the paper. They have big white space here and a big white space here. And also, in between, and I'll show you that, in between those sections, there's a large white space also, and that means they want you to pause longer at those white spaces when you're reading it to yourself or out loud. And also, poems have a type of rhythm or a musical tone. So that's probably because of the rhyming, even though not all poems have to rhyme, okay? Those two both did. So the next one I want to read to you is called Reading Forever. And if you look at this one is actually on this side, but look at all this white space over here. They don't go all the way across the paper like we do when we normally write. So that's what they mean. Then here is big space, and we have 3 sections, but with poems they call them stanzas. So there would be 1, 2, 3 stanzas in this poem, okay? So this is called Reading Forever, and I want you to pay attention to this because the work that you're doing after this is going to be with this poem, okay? It's called Reading Forever by Guy Belleranti. I read a good mystery, stuffed full of thrills, and then a ghost story, spooky with chills. I laughed through a joke book Read things that were true. Books about animals, biographies too. I'll keep right on reading. I've only begun. I have learned many things. Reading is fun. So that's what this one is about, okay? I'm going to read this one more time because you have 2 things you need to do after this poem for your work today, okay? So it's about reading. I read a good mystery, stuffed full of thrills, and then a ghost story, spooky with chills. I laughed through a joke book, read things that were true, books about animals, biographies too. I'll keep right on reading, I've only begun. I have learned many things. Reading is fun. Okay, so you have just 2 questions to do, okay? These are also on my lesson, so if you cannot print these, just write your answer to question 1, A, B, C, or D, and then for number 2, you're just going to explain. So number 1 says, what is this poem mostly about? Your choices are A, a person who enjoys reading fiction stories and biographies, B, a person who mostly enjoys reading, C, a person who reads a book about magic and types of books, and D, a person who enjoys reading different, oh, I typed that wrong. Let me reread that one. A person who reads a book about magic, and then this one, a person who enjoys reading different types of books. If you see the question on my lesson plan, it's typed the correct way. And then number 2, so up here just tell me A, B, C, or D, okay? And number 2, I want you to list 2 different types of books that you like to read, and tell me why you like to read those books, okay? Because in the poem they talked about mystery books, ghost books, joke books, animal books, biographies. We did that right before school ended when you guys picked a famous person, and then just reading, okay? There's other types of books too that you can pick about. So what are books that you like to read? Tell me 2 different types, okay? But also tell me why you like those. So those are the 2 questions that you have after you're done watching this video, okay? And I look forward to seeing everybody in the Zoom tomorrow. Bye.